Hi, I am so excited to be here live. I am later than I normally am, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do this today. So who knows who's going to join me? I hope that those of y'all who are joining live are able to hop on. Obviously, if you're here live, you were able to hop on, but whatever. And welcome to those of you who are watching the replay. So in these live videos that I try to do Tuesdays at noon Central, today's later than that because I literally flew all night and landed this morning and then am just now back in my office. So if I fall asleep in the middle of this, well, that'll be interesting, right? Anyway, you can hear me snore. I am answering questions that have been submitted ahead of time at askdanakWhite.com, that URL that you see right there. You may also, you can submit questions for future lives. You can also stay, if you're here live, I will take questions from those of you who are watching live for the last half of the hour-ish that we're going to do here. Okay, and I think it's a good thing to mention. If you don't know my history, I started doing what I do at slobcomesclean.com. I started doing that as a way to stay focused on my house and figure out what it was that I had been doing wrong or what I had not been doing for all the years that my house was a complete disaster. In the beginning, it was anonymous. It was never intended to turn into this. Okay. I did want to have an online, writing and all that kind of stuff. I didn't want to write about the house, right? Like, because that was the thing I'd always struggled with. But I did that as a way to kind of learn about it while getting my house under control. And so one thing I do to keep myself in check is, which I think has kind of bled over into the house, which is something that is helpful, is this, if you're looking for perfect, this is not the place to find it. Like, my stuff online is never going to be that. I'm a perfectionist in certain areas of my life. I can't be here because if I focus on perfectionism and if I say I am, if I can't go live right at noon, well, then, I'm not going to do it. Well, then we don't get this time together, right? We don't have this opportunity to have these discussions and conversations. And so it has been very helpful for me and beneficial that I started the way that I did as a way to stay focused, because it gave me permission it helped me give myself permission to say, you know what, I'm going to do what I can do. And if it ends up hindering me being able to keep my house under control, then I'm not going to do that. I'm only going to do the things that are helpful to me and work within my actual life. Okay. So it's been like a boundary that I've had. But for example, for like 10 years, I didn't do YouTube. I did nothing on YouTube. And the reason was that when I did YouTube videos, you can go watch the old ones. Sometimes I debate. I'm like, should I cut all those out? And I'm like, no, y'all need to see where it all started. But when I was doing those YouTube videos 10 years ago, or more than that, I don't know. As I was doing that, I realized that I was stopping myself from decluttering. I was thinking, oh, I need to work on that spot. Oh, I don't want to put on makeup. I don't want to fix my hair. Y'all, today, I just flew in and my hair is still wet. But I don't want to do, I don't feel like getting dressed, blah, blah, blah. And so I wouldn't declutter. And so I realized after a year of doing those videos that it was actually hurting my house. And that's why I stopped doing them. So like, if you watch my Thursday videos that come out, which are the ones that are edited and everything, I know there are people, because they say it, most of y'all are amazing, but there are people who are like, oh, I don't like this because you're not actually filming it in the moment of you doing all this. I'm like, you literally have no idea how I look in that moment. I mean, like, it is super scary. I have one coming out soon where I show myself a little bit and I'm like, oh, should I not do that? But the reality is I had to say, if I'm going to do this, it has to help my house, right? And so the way I can do that is I'm going to go ahead and declutter, and I'm just going to shoot the pictures and the little B-roll of the things that I'm doing. And then I'll come in later and I'll explain what it was that I was doing when I'm actually like, properly attired. Because I'm not usually properly attired when I'm doing my regular decluttering. I look pretty interesting. So anyway, I just think it's important for, because I know that so many of us we have that project brain, right? Like I don't focus on the whole perfectionism thing because I don't know, it's something I've done podcasts on. I've really dove into before in that. And I won't right now. But I do know that with that project brain that we have, it's like, okay, well, until I have everything in place and ready to just go, I'm not going to do it. Well, that never made my house any better. And it's the same way with my house, right? Like that whole big idea of I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it perfectly. I'm going to do it all the way. And then nothing ever happens, right? So like my t-shirt I have on today is the, it's the one that says better is good, right? Like that's my philosophy. So anyway, a video at 1:15 is better than no video because I couldn't do it at 12, right? Okay, but like, and how does that carry out in my home and all the things that I do? All right, so let's answer some questions here. I will be putting up the abbreviated version here, and I will be reading the full question as the person asked it. Okay. I have 3 children, 10, 7, and 4. They love to keep everything with birthdays and holidays. It seems they are always getting new toys, but never want to let go of the old toys. In what ways would you explain to small children that it's okay to let go? Okay. Here's how I go about this. Okay. I don't start out by explaining it's okay to let go. Okay. Let me just go back to what I always say, right? Which is I go through the process, the 5-step process. Instead of building it up, because this is what I used to think with the whole project mentality and like, I'm going to do this correctly. I'm like, I got to get in the right mindset. I got to do all the brain work ahead of time so that I'm ready to just get in there and get the stuff done. And then I never got anything done, right? And so the mindset shift actually happens as you declutter using the no mess, emotion free, but it acknowledges that you have emotions and that's okay, process. The 5-step no mess decluttering process. Okay. It's progress and only progress. And so you either get to an emotional point and you have to stop, and that's okay because we've only made progress and wow, this space is better and better is good, right? And that helps them start to see the power of having less in the space, and they were able to stop when they got emotional about these things, or it helps you work through those emotional things. But as far as a practical thing to do with kids, okay, and I mean, like, I think it was 10, 7, and 3 or whatever, that's quite a range. Like the 10-year-old can understand a whole lot more than the 3-year-old. And yet for everybody anywhere, the container concept is true. Okay. It's not just a way to explain things. It's an actual physical reality that if we don't accept it, our house can't be under control. If we refuse to accept the container concept, the house can't be under control. If we embrace the container concept, the house naturally gets under control. Okay. So what does that look like? Well, just to, say super briefly what I've spoken for hours on, the container concept is that every space within your home is a container, and a container's purpose is to serve as a limit, as a boundary. Okay. And when I view containers as a boundary, as opposed to viewing them as a place to put stuff, okay, when I thought containers were something to put things in, that meant when I filled one, I got another and then another and another, and my house stayed out of control. Okay. But when I realized they were a boundary and I said, okay, this is the amount of space that I have for a bucket for my crayons. So this determines how much this bucket that's on the shelf that exists in my home, and I don't have other space to give to it. This bucket is what makes the decision about how many crayons I can keep. Okay. So and then I don't have to make value decisions and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Like I said, I've spoken, written, all that kind of stuff. You know, what does ad nauseum mean? Y'all are always good at looking things up for me later. Ad nauseum. That's what it feels like. I have spoken on that. But anyway, I mean, it doesn't it mean like over and over and over, but then the whole nausea thing like gives such a great word picture. Anyway, I don't know, maybe it means something completely different, but I've spoken on and on and on about the container concept. But how does it work in this situation? You let the container make the decision for them, as opposed to you having this back and forth about it's okay to let go. It's these things aren't valuable anymore. You never play with this. We don't have to have those discussions because we let the container be the decision maker. Okay. They are the ones deciding what goes into the container, but we do that in a way where it's, okay, this is their room that they have. Okay. And whether it's their bedroom, a play, whatever it is that your personal situation in your home is, whatever space where toys are kept, or where you want toys to be kept, because right now they're all over the house or whatever. This space is, the room itself is a container. And the first thing that goes in that space is open space to actually play with the toys, right? Like if every surface is covered with toys, if the entire floor is covered with toys, if there's no open space, then the toys don't actually have space to be played with. So that's the first thing that goes in the container. So you're the one deciding what the container is, right? So here's the room that we have that toys go in, and it's their bedroom or whatever. And this open space, like the thing that goes in that is people playing. That means we can't just have toys stored there. That's not what the open floor is for. Instead, it's going to be, okay, in this space, we've got the bed that takes up room. So that is not a storage space because that is the purpose is for sleeping. I know some kids will say, you know, stuffed animals, and yet you have to kind of go along this line in that, even if you are, you know, using the bed as stuffed animal place. But this is the room, this is the space. And then within this space, what room do we have for storing toys? For us, when my daughter was young with stuffed animals is one of those where it's like, they are highly sentimental, right? Because they're just so cute. They are cuddly and they are a comfort thing. And, you know, grandma gives them, or so-and-so gave them, or whatever, you know, like stuffed animals. So we designated a shelf that was one that wasn't as accessible for her, because she didn't actually play with them all the time, but her heart, you know, just, I mean, she couldn't get rid of them, right? So this is the shelf that we have for stuffed animals, because that is what worked within this space, right? And here is the bookcase for your books, or here is the Barbie bucket or whatever, you know, we had a Barbie bucket. So like, these are the things that fit within this space and still give, you know, priority to actual room to play in. So as we do that, then your job is to say, look, we've got this shelf and we're going to put your stuffed animals on there so that you can see all of them, and so that you can enjoy them more, right? Like, isn't that exciting? This is the shelf. The shelf is where the stuffed animals are going to live. Okay. Let's put your favorite ones on there first. This is what we do with my daughter. Of course, she's 17 now, but like, this is years ago. Most of the stuffed animals are gone now. But anyway, so that shelf though, at that time, this was the space for it. And we say, okay, we're going to put in this space your favorite stuffed animals first. Y'all, that's fun, right? Like, that is not it's okay to let go. It's pick out your favorite ones first. And they start doing that. And it naturally sorts out the things that they most love and don't love as much. And then when the container is full, when the shelf is full, for us, it was a 3-shelf little thing that we had. There's pictures on the blog years ago. I'll never remember to go link to them, so maybe someone can find it. I don't know. But the 3-shelf thing, once that was full, it was like, okay, well, it's full. The container is full. The shelf is full. So the other ones are going to need to go. And I kind of work that into conversation as they're picking out their favorites and going through all that fun stuff. It's this, anything that doesn't fit, we're going to give to, other kids who, who need stuffed animals that they don't have as many as you, so they're going to go to great homes. But this, this is your container for that. And it just takes the emotions out of the process. And it is pretty rare that you get to the point where it is bursting at the seams and you're trying to make that hard last decision. It usually just naturally sorts itself out as, oh, I'm looking for my favorites. And it's like, oh yeah, those are not my favorites. It's amazing how that works. But even when it does, it's the container making the decision. It's not mommy saying, no, you never play with that one, or that's from Aunt so-and-so. And, we haven't spoken to her in 15 years, whatever, like they are the ones making those decisions, but they are learning to accept the boundaries, which is the basis of your house being able to be under control, of your house being able to be maintainable for you, is accepting the boundaries of the realities of the spaces that you actually have. Okay. So this is our Barbie bucket. Put your favorite Barbies in there first. And then the beauty of this is every answer is yes. You never have to be the bad guy. Every answer is yes. So when they went through all of that and it was a hard decision, and then they find their very favorite Barbie in the car because they took it to their brother's baseball game or whatever, they get that Barbie and they're like, oh no, this one, and there's no room in the bucket. Of course you can keep that one. Which one is your least favorite? Maybe even just say, which one are you willing to donate so that we have room for that? You can absolutely keep it, but we just need to make the room for it. So just let's donate your least favorite so that we have room for this one that you love so much that you took it to the baseball game. Okay. And so the answer is yes, of course you can keep it. We just have to get rid of something to create the space for it. All these things are really foundational concepts for them to be successful in their own homes in the future anyway. And so it's a great, easy way to work through this with kids. If they say, oh, but I have to keep all of my Barbies, I need another bucket, you can still say, okay, yes. All right. So are you willing? Do you want to, or not are you willing? Do you want to get rid of this bucket of Hot Wheels cars, or this bucket of Polly Pockets, or this bucket of Paw Patrol's things, so that we can keep I don't know the age appropriateness. Some of y'all are like, those are all different ages. Whatever. Okay. I'm just trying to come up with stuff in the top of my head. But that is, it's like, absolutely you can keep more Barbies. We just have to get rid of something over here. So fix it. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, yeah, then there's not, any room for any more Barbies. And and you can give them a hug, and you can, comfort them and say, it is hard. It's hard getting rid of stuff, but the space we have is the space we have, and we need to have the room to actually play with these things. So it's just going through that process, working through the container concept is the best way to do this with children and with me. Whatever that says about me. Yeah. Okay. It works. It works. It just works because you're honoring them too. And remember, if the thing that happens a lot of times with kids is that the thing that they're more than happy to get rid of is either sentimental to you, or how much you paid for that or whatever. If you're the one who wants to keep it, you need to find room in your own container. Okay. So if they, for my daughter, it was, she was like, oh, this Cabbage Patch doll that for me was like a really big deal when I got it when I was in 3rd grade in 1983. She was like, meh, like she was ready to get rid of it. And I was like, oh, you're going to get rid of Carlina Emmy? What? And I just had to say, you know what? If she doesn't want it, I'm not going to force her to. If I have to keep it, then it needs to go in my own space and my own limited container for things that I really don't use or need, but they are enough of a memory that I want to keep them. Okay. All right. Next question. I feel like I have gone on and on with that question. I always get messed up too when I don't start these things on the hour, because then it's hard for me to keep track of how long I've been going. All right. what about, oh, I need to switch the question over here. Sorry. The full question is, what about when everything fits in your closet, then you get rid of half of everything? Wait, what? I thought I read through all the questions. I don't think I read through this one. Anyway, what about when everything fits in your closet, then you get rid of half of everything and get rid of half of everything again 6 months later? And now the stuff will no longer fit inside. No new things came in between declutters 1 and 2. I have continued to keep about the same number of items since these 2 declutters, 4 seasons, half of 1 closet. Okay. So I don't remember what I just read to you is all I know. I don't know the whole situation. So I'm going to guess as best as I can, especially off the top of my head, because I didn't read this one ahead of time. So it sounds like new stuff is not coming in, but you've gotten rid of half. So what I'm going to fixate on here is the words half and then half again, and then the number, and then, okay. As hard as it is, throw math out when you're decluttering your clothing. If you are someone who has always kept your laundry under control, always kept your closet, your drawers, everything, you don't even know why some people have clothes strewn everywhere. You're like, what? How does that happen? Then I'm not talking to you. You can do the math. But for those of us, people like me, who really, truly have struggled with just like clothes everywhere, piles of dirty clothes and things before I had a laundry routine that actually kept things under control. Throw math out of the equation. Anyway, throw math, no equations in decluttering. Okay, we're just going to go with the space. Think of it as space as opposed to thinking of it as math. Okay, and let that free you, because sometimes what's happening when you're thinking of half and half, and you specifically mentioned numbers coming, in and out, there's no extra, but then the numbers are the same, blah, blah. I don't know exactly what's happening here, but I will say that for people like me, I need to just look at the space itself, how much space things take up, how much space I have, put my favorite things in first. And then as I am realizing, oh, it's full of my favorite things, but I actually need, this bulky sweater or these bulky, work coveralls or whatever. Like, these are things I actually need because I really do use them. Then it goes, okay, well, I need this thing and it needs space. And so I need to remove enough to have that, space under control. The other thing too is to really focus on your laundry routine. There are people in the world who highly recommend the 1 load a day. I don't do that. That never worked for me. And there's videos that explain why and what I do instead. I do a laundry day. But whatever you do, work on getting a laundry system under control, because what can happen and what would happen to me is I would declutter my space, which is always valuable to declutter, right? Anytime you're getting stuff out, that's a valuable use of your time. Wonderful. Okay. But maybe I had a lot of dirty clothes in piles in different places at the time. And so I was decluttering and fixating on this space. And yet when I would do laundry or catch up on laundry, it was like, oh, okay, well, these things were never part of the decluttering process. And yet these are the things I've actually been wearing. And so now I need to, maybe those things got stacked over here and then worn, or you were maybe, putting clean laundry on the couch and everybody was getting their clothes out of there. And so in reality, those are the clothes you've actually been wearing and using. And these things that you made all these decluttering decisions about were not. Okay, so that could be something that's going on here. But again, I only have what the person writes. And so I just guess, right? We just guess. Okay. Let's see. Okay, this was a great question, this next one. Okay. How do you recommend choosing a container if you don't have one? 3 months ago, I moved in with my fiance. We don't have we both don't have a lot of stuff, and I decluttered a lot beforehand, always asking myself if this item has a place in my life, where I see myself becoming a working mom in the next few years. Do I need to read this with the British accent? Because you said mum. No, I think I'm too tired for that today. Anyway, but it's really tempting. Okay, I ended up with less than 20 boxes to move, including kitchen stuff. When I came to his place, the apartment was empty. The person who lived there before took all the furniture. The only thing I brought with me furniture-wise was a dresser and a small shelf. We both love wooden furniture, and during the last couple months, we were able to get our hands on some really nice secondhand pieces that didn't cost a fortune. The entryway and our living room are quite small. That made it easy to look for a cabinet and shoe cover. Okay. However, we still need a closet because we don't have built-in closets. That's not a good one. That's terrible. That was terrible. I'm sorry. I can do so much better than that. So that's why I'm not going to do it. Okay. We don't have built-in closets where I live. I'm just going to use my extra Texan. Okay. I cannot find anything secondhand that suits our needs, so we will be buying new. Buying a wooden closet is quite the investment, and I worry about buying one that is too small or too large for our needs. Y'all know what I'm about to say, right? I know it's an exciting opportunity to start from scratch in your home, but it's also a lot of pressure. You're absolutely right. Any thoughts on this? You probably bought some furniture after you moved into your new house. How did you choose it? Okay, couple of things here. I have talked many times about my friends, Jim and Amber. Amber told me she was watching this a couple weeks ago. Hi, Amber, if you're here. Probably not, because it's not your lunch hour this time. And they got married around the same time that Bob and I got married. And we had multiple homes worth of stuff. We had 3 dining room tables. I mean, I've written about it in the books and stuff. We had so much stuff because I was like, I got to have all this because I don't know what I'm going to need in the future, and I need to be able to choose from it, right? This is not your situation. You're more in Jim and Amber's spot, okay, where they were. And I watched them, and at first I was like, how do you do this? And over time, especially as I got my house under control, I was like, wow, that's what I wish I would have done. And that was, they did this wild thing called, they lived without until they found just the right piece. And sometimes that meant that they spent more money than I had spent on the 4 different things to have as options combined. They spent more, but it was just the right thing for just the space that served just the purpose of exactly what they wanted. And until they got to the point where they could get that, they lived without. Like, I have memories, and they are lovely, precious memories of, they were some of the first people we knew who got a DVD player. And we were like, what is this thing? So we had gone over to their apartment to watch DVDs, and they didn't have anything to sit on. And we just sat on the floor, but we were young and we could do that back then, right? So that, like, they built things. I mean, they not built, but I mean, Jim actually does build, but they added things slowly to their house, and they just lived without until they found just the right thing. The other thing I want to say is one of those like words that makes me go, you know, like things that I used to think and say that I've had to realize, oh, wait, that was incorrect for me to think and say that. The too small or too large for our needs. I highly encourage you to not think about, kind of like we talked about the math, you know, with the clothing in the last one. Instead of trying to think through what exactly I need, say, what space do I have and what will fit into this space? Obviously, you can't get something this big to fit your clothes, right? But think along those lines of what is the space that we have that we can devote to this closet, okay? For those of you who are watching in the US, you probably have built-in closets. And so for you, the size of your closet is the size of your closet. I mean, like, that's what I had to realize. I've had very tiny closets and I've had very big closets. And it's like, that is the space that I've got. That's what I have to accept. And when I accept that, then I'm able to manage my home. When I don't accept it, when I refuse to accept the size of it, then I'm not able to keep my house under control because I just keep too much stuff because I'm thinking of all the things I need versus the space that I have. So for you, as you are buying an actual physical piece, think, where is this, like where logically is this going to go in my home? And let that be the deciding factor, because most likely you are going to find a piece, and then that piece is going to determine the size of your wardrobe, as opposed to, this is the wardrobe that we have, and what kind of a piece are we going to, because having a container and letting the container make the decision is incredibly freeing. Okay. All right, here we go. And we'll go to the next one. But I love that question because I think that's a very common question. It's kind of like we talked about with the kids' space or the kids' room where the toys were. It's like, how do you choose the container for the Barbies and then the container for the Hot Wheels? It's like, it's according to the size of the container that is the room and the space that is needed for playing. Then this is the space that we have for the container. So we don't choose our container for Barbies according to how many Barbies we have. We choose the container according to the space that we have. Okay. Oh, okay. Here we go. Here's a good one. I mean, they're all good. Okay. Full question. Hi, Dana. I'm working through our home using your methods. We were doing really well. Then last year, my dad died. I'm very sorry. And we cleared his small flat. You said flat. Again, so tempted to do the accent, and it's not good today. So I was mindful and didn't take on too many of his belongings, but the sorting process took so much time and emotional energy. Now, sadly, my mother-in-law recently died. Again, I'm very sorry. She was a real, you had in parentheses, a real hoarder with a large and very full house. We are making good progress to make their house safe and comfortable for my elderly father-in-law to continue living there. Understandably, he wants everything cleared as soon as possible so he can live peacefully for his remaining years. How do I maintain the energy and enthusiasm for continuing my own decluttering when I can see that we will be occupied with my in-laws' house for the foreseeable future? I feel that while we're working elsewhere, my own home will regress. Again, I only have parts of this question, right? Like, I don't know the other family members that are involved. Are you in charge of this? Whatever. So I'm just going to answer according to what I know and what I assume from this question, right? So let's assume that you are the one in charge of this and that you're the one making the decisions in direct relationship with the father-in-law and without other, outside forces at play here, like sisters-in-law and, whatever. You said in there that he wants everything cleared out as soon as possible. So that's a huge blessing, right? So be thinking that the vast majority, like the vast majority of stuff, is going to be trash and donate. Recycle, if you have an established recycling routine. Trash and recycle, those are the same thing, okay? But I always say trash because not everybody has the recycling resource available to them. And donate, because he wants it cleared out, okay? So be thinking open space. That is the number one thing, right? Like that he needs open space so that we eliminate tripping hazards and things that have to be shifted around and strength issues and stuff at this phase for him. You're wanting to make his home as simple and easy as possible. So trash and donate, those are your things. Those are both non-emotional. Not that it's not going to be emotional, okay? But if you go into the situation saying our goal is to clear out, to create open space, I am decluttering in my own home, and I mean, like, it's real. That's the beauty of the no mess decluttering process, right? The progress and only progress is life happens. And if you've been using the no mess process, you have made progress. And so when life happens and you have to go over here and do this, which also, thank you for doing this. Like, this is a huge help and a huge blessing to him, right? So you're stopping and going and doing that. But because you've been using the no mess process, it's frustrating. You want to keep going. I get it. But you can go and stop and do that, because it's not like you pulled everything out and I was in the middle of this huge decluttering process that was really just spreading everything all over the house, and then I had to go do this, and then it gets completely, no, we didn't do that, right? Because you were using the no mess process. So really be ruthless and have the purpose being, I'm clearing space and I'm not bringing stuff into my own home unless it is extremely special and he doesn't want it, right now. So my goal is trash and easy stuff and donations. Get as much as you can out like that, and use the process. Use the, where would you look for this first? If he is really in that mindset of, I just want this stuff out, he is probably going to often say, I would never go looking for that. Get rid of it, but get the easy stuff out so that you then are only looking at those, a significantly smaller number of items. And therefore it's less overwhelming when you do ask those questions, but most likely he's going to be ready to get stuff out. So really focus on the donations and trash. Okay. Last question for today. What does your writing process look like, and how do you keep it organized? So I did a podcast on this at one point when I was in the midst of writing a book. I have a spreadsheet, and so in a traditionally published book, you submit a proposal ahead of time, which is an outline, and it has like a blurb, or a short summary of each chapter, and it has other stuff too, sample chapters and things. But that's a great way to like stay on track, right? So I know this book needs 60,000 words. I want to have it done in X amount of time, and I want to set aside 3 weeks at the end for me to be able to really polish it up and make sure it's what I want, and have time to send it to a couple of my people who I send it to, just to get some feedback before I actually turn it into the publisher. So that, goes back this amount of time. So I've taken those 3 weeks off the end. I've got this much time. I am realistically going to write 5 days a week. Maybe some weeks it'll be 6 or 7. Great. But I write 5 days a week. So I take the number of words and I keep my spreadsheet going, and I know there are actually programs out there that do all this for you. I just do it all in my own spreadsheet. But I have that spreadsheet and I say, okay, I write today, and I wrote 1,200 words today. Okay, great. On this day, I wrote 3,500 words. Oh my goodness. On this day, I wrote 4,500 words, whatever. And what I add that up, and then however many, 60,000 words minus what I've already written, and then divided by the number of days, I know that, okay, if I'm going to stay on track, I need to be writing at least 1,200 words a day. Well, when I have a 3,500 word day, then it kind of lowers that average for the rest of the days. Anyway, so there's a podcast on it, but I go through that. I really use my spreadsheet. So, okay. I'm going to take questions from those of you who are watching, and we've had a good number here. Okay. So it's not I always get nervous that if I do it at a different time, we won't have anybody who's able to come live, but it looks like we've got very similar number to other days. So I will be answering some questions. I will go through and see what I see. If you have asked a question already, it'd be great to ask it again. Put 3 question marks at the front so that I recognize it as a question, because y'all are great at having interaction and stuff. Okay, here we go. How do I help family recognize that while they are living within the container concept, i.e. plenty of room, they aren't living under their clutter threshold, can't manage what they have? A 5-minute pickup. A 5-minute pickup done as a family, all together. You everybody who's there in the house, set the timer for 5 minutes. I have podcasts going into the 5-minute pickup. I go into it in different ways, in both how to manage your home without losing your mind and in decluttering at the speed of life. Okay. So the way that you determine your clutter threshold, the way that you demonstrate your clutter threshold, the way that you prove to people who need to understand it that they are over their clutter threshold is by doing those 5-minute pickups. Give it some time to where you actually, learn, you get through that learning curve. And if they can't get it back under control in a 5-minute pickup, that is a physical manifestation, example of the fact is proof, it's physical proof that they are over their clutter threshold. Okay, which then motivates them to work a little harder during the 5 minutes, but it also, gives them, helps them understand what you're going for here, right? Sometimes people I work with, kids, people who are not the one who is super into decluttering and listening to this lady on the internet and all that kind of stuff, it can be like, no, okay, so we got to get rid of stuff. What? Okay. But when you have that 5-minute pickup, this is the goal. This is how we're going to know. This is how we're going to know that we have only in our home what we can handle, is when we can get it under control in 5 minutes. All doing it together. Remember, 5 minutes times 5 people is 25 minutes worth of work. Okay. So if we can do that on a normal day, get the house back under control, then we know we're under that. And it just is a way to show that and demonstrate it. So they get to experience, oh, that's what we're going for here. Favorite free donation place. I do not have one, and I don't think it's helpful for me to name specific places because it is so different in different areas. Like, you may live in an area where OfferUp is hopping. Like, people use it. They, are always it gets taken immediately. And you may live in a place where people are like, OfferUp, you put it on OfferUp and people realize, oh, you're 5 hours from me. No, so it's hard to know that. So the best thing to do is whatever you already sort of kind of do, put a little more effort into that, right? And also ask the people who are local to you, how do you get rid of your donations? They know, and they're not going to think it's weird that you're asking. Those of us, for me, okay, I used to be like, well, if I ask people where they donate their stuff, they're going to know how much clutter I have. And in reality, people who don't have clutter in their homes, they don't have clutter in their homes because they're always decluttering. So they know how to get rid of stuff, right? So the best thing to do is ask locally for you. And my rule is whoever doesn't make me sort. Like, any place that's like, oh, we'll take your electronics, or we'll take your, clothes, but we don't want any kids' clothes, or we'll take, household items, but we won't take this. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to find the place that will take it all, because that speeds up my decluttering process. Okay. Let's see. Do you recommend isolating clothing to see if they are no longer necessary? I just struggle with getting rid of well-made, lightly used clothing. I have the space, amount overwhelmed. I never recommend the isolate, like setting it aside to wait and see. Okay. It's either got a space in the place where I would look first for clothing, because once I put it in some kind of a box away, it is gone from my brain, and then it's just a box of like, I think there's something important in there. That just does not work for me. So I either give it a home according to where I would look for it first and embrace the reality of that, or, well, that's all I do. I mean, like I embrace the reality of the space where I would look for it first. So, and that often means that I get rid of something after the first time I wear it and realize, oh, that looked good in the store and it actually didn't look good at home. Like, or it didn't work out the way that I thought it was going to be, or it was hotter. I don't like to be hot. It did not breathe, whatever. But I'm like, you know what? How much more excited is somebody going to be to find a barely used thing at the thrift store, right? Okay. Instead of me letting it sit in my closet long enough that it's completely out of style. Okay. Yay, I love hearing this. Oh my goodness, I'm in so much temptation with the accent thing today. But I'm not going to do it. Okay, you tried the system of putting things away immediately. It is life-changing. Thank you from England. It is. It's take it there now. It's the game changer. It really is. It really is. Yay! Oh, this makes me so happy. You can usually let people in the door and not have a massive panic attack. Thank you. This makes me so happy. So happy. Worth writing the 60,000 words and all the spreadsheets, which I actually enjoy that kind of stuff anyway. Okay. I will watch the replay later, but I just wanted to pop in and say that I tried the container concept with my super sentimental 7-year-old yesterday, and it worked. You're a genius. Thank you. It's just a way to explain the thing naturally organized people know that they don't know. We need to know because they don't know that other people don't know this, right? Okay. Let's see. I have difficulties following through to actually getting stuff out of the house. I have several donation bags and trash for recycling. I struggle with large items we have to remove. Yes, this is normal. Okay. This is a real struggle for a lot of us. Remember, so a lot of us kind of prioritize what's worth our time. So I did a video recently and I've talked a lot about procrastinator. It's the stuff that we're like, oh, that has to be done. I'm going to have to do that eventually anyway. So it doesn't feel worthy of my decluttering time and energy. When I'm like, okay, I'm going to declutter today. I'm going to make a huge impact on my house. And then I work on something and I'm like, my house doesn't look any better. Well, it's because I've got donation bags and recycling bags and stuff like that. Give yourself permission or take my permission, whatever you need. I'm somebody who doesn't really care if I have somebody else's permission, so that doesn't help me, but other people, it does help. So if it helps you to take my permission, say it is a worthy use of your decluttering time and energy to take a day or a morning or whatever to load up those donation bags and go drive them to the donation center, or make a phone call to have them picked up, or taking the recycling. Where I am, there is one kind of recycling that we can do, and it has to be hauled away by us, like not by anybody else. So it's like, it is a worthy use of my time. It doesn't feel like it's worthy. Like it feels like I should be doing something more important than this. But when you do that, the immediate visual impact on your house is so incredibly powerful. It is so worth your time to say, I'm decluttering today, and what I'm doing is loading up the things I've already decluttered and driving them to the donation center. Okay, let's see. Desperate Mama, part 1. Your methods have helped me tremendously, but my 5-year-old is struggling to throw away anything, even legit trash. I've tried to put your favorites in first, but then she still can't cope with throwing away the rest. It is so hard for her. As a mom, I don't want to make it traumatic and just throw it all away, but we just can't keep it all. Any advice? Yeah, yes. Let the container be the bad guy and commiserate with her. Cry about it if you need to. Like with her, like hold her. Did you say her? You did say her. Okay. Like it's hard. It really, really is hard. The other thing with trash, remember too, is if the whole thing of the process is, okay, let's throw away the trash. If the person that you're helping, whether that person is 5 or 95, is like, there's no trash. You go, okay, well, this granola bar wrapper, is this trash? No, that's not. Okay. Okay, let's move to the next thing. Okay, let's get easy stuff out of here. What belongs somewhere else? There's usually stuff like that, especially in a majorly, cluttered area. Oh, that goes in the kitchen. Oh, that goes in the garage. That goes whatever, things that already have established homes. And then any donations. Oh no, everything's good in here. Okay, we move to the next thing. We go on to those 2 decluttering questions, and we can ask first decluttering question about the granola bar wrapper. Okay. If you needed a granola bar wrapper, where would you look for it first? And you're not going, where would you look for it first? You're going, okay, if you needed a granola bar wrapper, where would you look for a granola bar wrapper, a used granola bar wrapper first? Usually that will help to trigger the fact that that is trash, even if it doesn't carry it out. If they're like, oh, I would look for it on my floor. Oh, well, the floor is play space, so we can't put stuff on the floor. We're trying to get the floor cleared so that you can play in it. So where would you look first? If we took the floor out, where would you look first for a used granola bar wrapper? I would look for it on the shelf in my closet. Okay. All right. So you're earning trust as you do that. Okay. And I know some of y'all are like, what? I'm just saying, if this is one of those issues, this is how we play it all the way out. We go, oh, this shelf up here, because usually if we have used granola bar wrappers, we got a lot of stuff on the shelf too, right? So the shelf up here is full. So, okay, well, what can we get rid of, either donate it or put it in the trash? What can we get rid of to have room for the used granola bar wrapper? That will often help them realize, oh, there's no space for it. Okay. Or if you ask the question, where would you look for it first for a used granola bar wrapper? And they're like, then it's like, okay, if you needed a used granola bar wrapper, would it occur to you that you had a granola bar wrapper? That's the second decluttering question that we ask if we can't answer the first one. And so it helps them work through that, but you're doing it in a kind way that's accepting their reality, but you're also letting the container itself be the thing. Okay. And I think part here with throwing away the rest, it's that giving priority to the play space. That is something that we sometimes overlook. We're just like, I'm trying to find places to put all these things, and instead be like, our goal is a clear floor. So we can't have things spilling out of the containers, because we want a clear floor where you can wrestle with the dog, or play with your Barbies or whatever, that kind of thing. And all these are very short answers to what I know are intense questions for so many people here. All right. Let's see. How do I get past the fact that I pay good money for something, but I no longer use it, but I feel like I need to recoup some of the money I spent on the item? If you have to recoup the money, then sell it. When you realize that taking the time to sell something, I'm not going to say sell everything, okay, but say, okay, this is the thing that's keeping a bunch of stuff in my house because I have this mindset that I really need to recoup money. Okay, then what's the thing in here that you're most confident is worth a lot of money? Go through the process to sell that. Whatever it is that you already have in your mind is, oh, I could learn how to do eBay, or I could learn how to, or I could, take it up to that flea market over there and somebody sells stuff on consignment, whatever. Go through the process for that one item that you are most confident is high value. You will either learn what it takes to sell things, and so then it will no longer be daunting and sitting in your house, or you will realize that was a lot of work. I didn't make near as much money as I thought I was going to. I'm willing to just get rid of this stuff because that is not worth my time. But as long as you're just like, oh, this is the thing stopping me, don't let it stop you. Go ahead and do the thing. But so many times you're like, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't actually want to go through the thing to sell this, so I'm not going to. But I could have a garage sale. Okay, put it on the calendar. Call your local paper or whatever. Ask people around you who actually shop at garage sales. How do you find them? Find that out. I have a whole series years ago on how to do garage sales. But have I done a video series on that yet? I should do that, shouldn't I? Maybe. But as you do that, go ahead and do the thing. Like, go ahead and call the paper and schedule for your ad to be in there, or whatever it is. Like, go ahead and put it on your own calendar. Let your people in your family know we're having a garage sale. Start putting stuff in this one designated space because we're having a garage sale on this date, instead of just this ambiguous, oh, maybe we should have I shouldn't get rid of this because I could have a garage sale one day. Make the one day happen. Okay. Let's see. My dad wouldn't let us clean out anything after my mom passed. Needless to say, everything was still there when he died. Yeah. I think, I mean, it's hard. I have been through it with my in-laws. So I know, like, it is incredibly, incredibly difficult. There is no, oh, just do this. Like, it's really hard, especially you're dealing with family dynamics and things. So like in the question that we had, I mean, it's a huge blessing for the father-in-law to be ready for stuff to go. So I don't wear perfumes and I don't organize. I just declutter to the point where it's naturally organized because I've gotten rid of the excess. But it would be the same process with everything else. So, like, let's go through the decluttering process applied to perfumes. Okay. We start with the trash. There's no trash. That's my perfume collection. If they are a lot, okay, it's possible that there might be some other trash in there. It might be, oh, wait, this one's empty, or these 3 are empty, or whatever. But you do that to help yourself start looking at the individual items and immediately get some stuff out of there, which immediately reduces the feeling of being overwhelmed, right? And then you go just through the process, like, what would donations be on perfumes? Well, it might, if you collect perfumes, there is a chance that there are some that you don't like, right? Like, that you thought you were going to love, and then you wore it a couple times and you were like, oh, that gives me a headache, or whatever, so, like, go through that process. And then whatever space you have in your place where you would look first for perfume, whether that's the surface of a small table, or, whether it's a shelf in your bathroom or something like that. This place is the limit. It's the container. Okay. And then you take out your least favorites until you only have what will fit comfortably, usably, functionally. Okay. If you want to do an organizing system, that's not my specialty. It's not what I teach, but because for me, the only thing that has actually worked is just to eliminate until it all fits comfortably, and then go ahead and use it for a while and realize, oh, it's still getting out of control. That means it's over my clutter threshold and I just need to have less, right? But even if you are going to implement some sort of a shelf system or something that you've seen, you still have to declutter first. And you don't want to be putting trash, easy stuff that's actually not, and maybe it's something that I don't know, I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but easy stuff, things that don't belong in this space, and donations, ones you don't like anyway, you need to get those out of there anyway first, right? So go ahead and do that. And then it's possible the system that you already have, whether it's just a place or a shelf or something, is going to function so much better because you've gotten all that excess out of there. And then live with it for a while. And then you're like, oh, what would be really helpful is some sort of a slot or whatever, tubs or whatever. Okay. I used to use my tongs, that the little thing that kind of keeps them closed had come off. And I loved those, and they were kind of smooth edged so that they didn't snag clothes or anything. And when we moved, I have no idea. I have no idea what happened to them. They have disappeared. So that's but so now what I use, I think it's from getting a Chick-fil-A nugget tray for a party or something one time, and it's the little plastic ones. That's what I use. So there's no perfect. I would recommend something that doesn't have sharp, edges. Okay. Pantry. Besides throwing out expired things, how do I even start organizing? Well, you start by throwing away the expired things, right? So you start by decluttering. And then remember that the final step of the decluttering process is putting like items together. So that in and of itself is going to reveal, oh, I've got 16 boxes of cornbread mix and I make cornbread one time a year at whatever holiday, whatever, so put things, consolidate, put like items together, accept the realities of that. Again, I am not it is much better for me to just eliminate, declutter to the point where just being on the shelf and living there is easily accessible and functional. I can see what I have and I'm able to get it really quickly, as opposed to fancy systems, because that just doesn't work for me. So, okay. Do you realize you've ruined me for all other decluttering / organizing experts? They're doing great things for a lot of people who need that. I am here for the people who need to think through things the way that I think through things, because I mean, they have a lot of amazing things. That's why it's one of the reasons why I'm like, I'm not going to make up when people are like, how do I organize this space? I'm like, I'm just going to tell you what I do, and how I have achieved an organized home is by decluttering, not by organizing. Okay. It's by decluttering, just getting rid of all the excess and making sure I only have what I can use functionally and everything. So that is what works for me. And I'm not going to make up a way to, oh, you should get this and this and this, because that would just be making it up. Not something I've actually proven. And I only like to teach the things that I've proven to be true in my own home. Okay. But anyway, how do you stop chef stifting? Y'all, I got an hour and a half of sleep in the last 28 hours, maybe. Okay. How do you, I was traveling, for those of y'all who are just now coming on. How do you stop that thing and actually start decluttering? Also, how do you deal with empty spaces? They make me feel uncomfortable. I feel the need to fill empty spaces, such as a bookshelf, counter, any open space. Okay. I think you need the book. And I know that you're here, but like, this is a full on mindset shift. And I get it, because that is exactly where I was. I was like, I don't know how to do this. Read Decluttering the Speed of Life. It's available at most libraries. Okay. If you need to get it that way, or ask your library to stock it if they don't have it. Follow the process. Okay. You can get my process at aslobcomesclean.com/5, FIVE. That is the process that I go into great detail about in Decluttering the Speed of Life. But that printable just lists out, it's a free printable when you sign up for my newsletter. It lists the 5 steps. Okay. We are making progress, and only progress, which is the opposite of stuff shifting. So we are removing trash, going straight into the trash or the recycling. It's done, right? Like, I have taken the trash there now to the place it needs to be in the trash bag, right? So really watch my no mess decluttering method video. I think I don't know when it came out. Anyway, it's like 30 minutes long, but I go through the whole process. That is how you do this. Okay. That is how you keep the stuff shifting from happening. Do you have any advice on teaching a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old to pick up after themselves? Yes. 5-minute pickup. 5-minute pickup. Asking them to just do things differently, start picking up after yourselves. It doesn't actually, like, and I know this as the person who, I am 49, about to be 50, and it's not helpful for me to be like, okay, I got to start picking up after myself. Instead, I say, okay, I naturally leave things around. So what is the solution? It's the 5-minute pickup. Hopefully for your children, they are going to, the more you do 5-minute pickups, the more they are going to naturally put things away immediately, because then they don't have to do it in the 5-minute pickup. Okay. That hopefully is going to happen for them. But even if it doesn't, the 5-minute pickup is going to solve the problem. Okay. So the 5-minute pickup is everything. It's everything. Kitchen serves as both dining and a homeschooling space. How do I best keep it decluttered when the space is used for many different uses? Home is very small and storage is limited. Okay, so what I would do in this situation, and this is off the top of my head because I'm just reading this as y'all were watching me read it, I would pick one definition for the space and call it that, And then the other use that space gets, so like, let's say you decide this is our dining space where we also homeschool, or this is our homeschooling space. It's also where we eat. There is a mindset shift that happens. So I had a room in my old house that I would call my game room / guest room / office. I always referred to it that way, and it was always a disaster. But when I decided that I was going to name it my game room, this is the purpose of this room, we still had guests stay in there. Like, that is still where guests stayed. But its real identity was the game room, and that changed everything in the how that space functions. So like, let's say you decide this is my dining room, which if this is my dining room, then or my dining space, you didn't really say room, because I'm thinking like formal, but well, let's just assume you're talking about like, this is our space where we eat dinner every day. Okay. This is our dining space where we also do our homeschooling. That means that homeschooling needs to be set up in a way where it's pack awayable, and it comes out and is done on this table, and then it gets packed away because this is the dining table. Or we say, this is our homeschool space. So we have it set up for homeschooling, and then we clear it into this thing temporarily so that we can also eat here. So it's just a mindset difference that really makes a huge, huge impact. Okay. Let's see. Oh, that's exciting. Take advantage of those days, because sometimes that's some of the stuff that can be really difficult. Like, certain places are like, we're not going to take any of this. Let's see. What opinions or thoughts do you have on people who resell and their stuff is what makes them money? I mean, like, if you resell it and you actually do it, I think that's great. The thing that I have, that I try to encourage people to not do is keep it in your house, even though you don't like it, because you have this idea that you might start reselling it. So we kind of talked about this earlier, right? And this all comes from my perspective as someone who had an entire, that game room I had that I was just talking about. It was a very large room. It was an eBay room for years, and it was a complete and total disaster, because it was a storage space basically. So I had an entire very large living area in my home that was just for eBay. So I am coming at this from the perspective of someone who used to see dollar signs on all of my stuff. So I completely get that. And I've talked before about like the process of going through that I went through to come to the point where I realized, oh, I just want to sell stuff. Oh my goodness, I've gone over an hour. I need to stop after this one. But did I just say I need to sell stuff? No, that's not what I meant. I just need to donate stuff. When I realized the power of donating to speed up and make my decluttering easier, I was like, oh, I now see huge value in donating. I see huge value in donating because of the speed and the ease with which it gets my stuff out of the house. Okay. So I and all the same things apply. Like, if this is how you support your family, which is how I supported our family. I mean, like, my husband had, anyway, I've shared it in other times, but we had moved, we hadn't sold our house yet. So we had rent and we had a house payment, and we had zero extra money. And that is the only extra money that we had, was what I was making on eBay every week. Okay. So like anything above and beyond the absolute bare necessities was that money. So I totally get it. What I know now that I didn't know then, that would make me do things differently, is apply the container concept. Give priority space in my home to actual living in my home and the people who are functioning there and what it needs to be for, and designating, okay, this is the space that I have for the off-season things that I just found at a garage sale but won't sell well until another 6 months from now. Okay, this is the amount of space that I have. And so then I would, apply the container concept to that as well. Okay, I know we've got more questions, and I wish that I could. I do want to tell y'all real quick that I am hiring right now. I'm hiring a virtual assistant. I've had a lot of great applications, so this is not like, if you've already applied, it's not like anyway, I just have told people I'm taking applications through the 30th, knowing if anybody is a lot like me, then deadlines are helpful, right? So if you've been thinking about it, check that out at aslobcomesclean.com/hiring. Gives you all the information that you need there. And don't ask me a bunch of questions, because I honestly I've had very few questions, and they've been really, really great questions. But if you're the right person, you'll read that and you'll be like, got it. I can do this, because that's what I need. I need somebody who's like, oh yeah, I can take care of that for you, Dana. Anyway, all right, I will talk to y'all next week. Should be, right? I won't be traveling internationally, so I should be good. All right, bye y'all.